And so in America, we're kind of the do-gooders exporting our perfect system to the world, kind of like probably the Catholic Church used to do when they went into South America, saying we're just going to make all these people better like us. But we're not being very realistic about what's going on, or maybe even looking at our own system as well. It's not necessarily the right system for every place at this point in time.
Right.
That's a big thing to say. Most people in America would have a problem with that.
Yeah, most people in America do have a problem with that, but that doesn't make it any less true.
Yeah.
Right? And you're right. We struggle a lot with, especially the United States, we struggle a lot with the fact that we don't live a representative life compared to the other humans in our species around the world. We don't. Our per capita income is like 400 times what the average poverty-stricken African or Southeast Asian earns. Like we are so far removed from real life that we don't recognize that our American existence is not representative of real life. And as I walk through London, I see the same thing, right? We're so far removed with our designer clothes and with our outstanding public transport, law and order when people cross the street. That's not how the world works.
Right.
That's how first world works.
Right. And yet we project everything on that rest of the world. We assume they make decisions the same way we do. And then we're confused when these things happen that we don't understand.
Correct.
Okay. And part of that is playing out right now in Ukraine and Russia. And so just to get back to it, with the Russian people, long protracted war. I had Bill Browder in that seat a couple weeks ago, who has had a long battle with, I guess, Putin. He had the Magnitsky Act that he put in place to sanction anybody to go in for their money if they were involved in, I guess, human rights violations. And he says that, well, Putin can't stop this war because if he does, he'll die. I mean, quite literally. Also in Russia, you don't see a lot of retired presidents. You see a few, but you're kind of in for life, because when you're not president, you're probably not going to survive very long. So again, do these all play into the decisions being made here?
Absolutely. So one of the things that the Western world learned from the global war on terror, which let's not forget that for 20 years we fought a war on terror and didn't win.
This happened at 9/11, it started.
Correct. And 9/11 it started in 2021. It kind of ended with that, or I guess even in 2022, we still had a disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Right.
Right.
And when you were in the CIA, I'm guessing most of your work there was
correct
based on the war on terror.
Correct. Okay. What we learned from the war on terror is that the leader is the one that everybody focuses on, but is often the one that is the least scary. Because that person came to be the leader, not because they were extremely idealistic or ideologically driven, or because they were the most vicious, but because they were a unifying force in a panel of people that were much more diverse. Which means that behind Putin, there are many, much more scarier, hawkish, violent, wealthy Russians. So if we see a change in power, if that actually happens, why in the hell does the world think it's going to be better? Logically, based on what we've seen in the war on terror, if we take out Putin, or if political pressure takes out Putin, it's going to take someone more ruthless and stronger than Putin to calm the people after that. That's not going to be a good thing for the West. That's not going to be a good thing for Ukraine. That's not going to be a good thing for any country other than Russia. And especially when we think through the eyes of a Russian. The Russians, they don't think that this is like a political fight over Ukraine. They think this is the West trying to eradicate Russia. And when you think about it, they have grounds to think that way. That is absolutely, this has gone from being a neo-Nazi narrative to 100% anybody can see. This is a Western war waged against Russia through Ukraine.
And has that narrative changed? It started as neo-Nazis in Russia, and is it now the West?
And you know who changed it was Putin.
Putin, right.
Putin changed it, and his own propagandists changed it. Like the West has played into...
Is that by design?
No. Maybe it was by design. I mean, the guy's a very skilled former KGB officer, right? But the point is, he couldn't back up the claims that they were going into Ukraine to purify Ukraine of neo-Nazis. It was such a ridiculous claim.
I hear that's still being, touted in the Telegram groups in Russia.
Yeah, and they still try, right? But that's a very narrow group of people that's why there was not widespread Russian support at the beginning.
Okay.
But as sanctions are leveraged that hurt everyday people, as sanctions are now, this last week we started seeing that the UN, or that the US was calling on the UN to sanction non-Russian countries and non-Russian people who have business dealings supporting the Russian side. Now we're not even targeting Russia. Now we're targeting the people who are supporting Russia. What does that have to do with Ukraine? If you stop the flow of food and money and weapons and the development of commerce in Russia, all you're doing is hurting Russia. You're not helping Ukraine unless you land on the conclusion that hurting Russia is helping Ukraine. And if that's the conclusion you land on, then who are you really fighting? Russia, right? So it's a sad state of affairs, because now the narrative has changed in Putin's favor. He can now be honest with his own people. Before, he had to lie to his people. Right. Now he can be honest with the people. And if you were faced in a situation where you were being targeted exclusively because you were American or exclusively because you were British, that changes the intimacy of that conflict for you, right?
Okay. Hey, it's Brian Rose, founder of the DeFi Academy. I've told you, my 4-week crypto bootcamp is amazing, but don't take my word for it. This is what my students are saying.
The DeFi Academy was an amazing experience for me. It took me totally out of my comfort zone.
In this course, I was challenged, I was held accountable, and pushed to do things that honestly weren't always easy.
It's been phenomenal, and I can't believe we're already up on our 4 weeks. It has flown by.
Going through this DeFi accelerator by far was one of the best courses I've taken.
You do this course, you really get into the nitty-gritty of the activities that will make you comfortable with decentralized finance.
Thank you so much to Brian and everyone at London Real and the DeFi Academy for even putting together an amazing course like this.
Anybody else that wants to do it, please sign up. It is well worth the money.